Leon Todd for G66. Welcome to another Tuesday Tone Tip. On today's video, I've got my 7-string out. I'm in drop A at the moment on this JP7, and I'm going to show you a quick and easy way to dial in a super chunky modern high gain tone. So the JP7 is going straight into my Axe-Fx 3, and I'm going to start off with this FAS Modern amp model. This isn't based on any real world amplifier, but to my ears, it kind of sounds like a boosted dual rectifier. All the things we like about a rectifier, the huge low end, the massive amounts of gain, but none of the things we don't like. So you don't really have to boost it. The low end is really pronounced, but it's not flubby in any way. And there's a lot of control on here. Now, the reason I find this so easy is you basically don't have to touch anything in the amp block. I've just adjusted the level control, but I've left the amp at stock settings. I have a gate between the amp and the cab. I've set this to the modern expander type, and you can see I've set the attack as low as possible. Threshold I've just set to suit my guitar. I quite like this medium soft knee type. It sounds quite natural. And I've set the sidechain source to input 1. So the gate listens to my raw guitar to detect when to come on and off, but it's placed after the super high gain amp so that it can chop it really efficiently. Then we have got this 4x12 Recto straight Dynacab with a dynamic 2 mic. I'm just gonna play a little bit and just move the mic position until I get it where I like it. Again, this is so easy. One thing that I do like in general with the Dynacabs is also just backing off the distance parameter a little bit there. But you could hear amp at the stock settings. All I had to do was kind of sweep this position parameter. I like to kind of get it to the point where it starts to sound too dark and then bring it back just a little bit. So that's going to be totally fine in there. Now, there are gobloads of gain in here. So I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm actually going to turn the gain on the amp down a little bit. Let's have a listen to what that does. Now I can take this even further if I want to get nastier and use a boost. Something that I think just goes so well with this FAS Modern or a Recto or a 5150 is the Horizon Precision drive. So drive quite low, level all the way up. And because I'm playing with a low A string on here, I've actually turned the attack control up quite a bit. If you were playing a standard 6-string guitar, maybe turn the attack down a little bit. If you were playing an 8-string guitar, tuned to like F or E, then maybe turn the attack up a little bit, but this is where I've got it. The idea with these kind of boosting techniques is essentially we are cutting low end before the distortion stages on the amp. Another cool trick there is to use a filter block in here. And let's say I wanted that kind of low end cut on the low strings, but I didn't want it to do too much on the high strings. Say I wanted to play some lead stuff on there. Well, what I can do is set up a high pass filter in here, but then attach the frequency parameter to the pitch follower. So I want the minimum value to be 270-ish, 300-ish hertz on here. You can play around with that, but that is going to correspond to the lowest note I'm playing. So I've set that to the minimum. So the lowest note gets the most amount of high pass. And, well, does it get the most amount of high pass or does it get the most amount of low cut? I should be careful with how I say that, but it's going to cut the most low end. Let's put it that way. And then on the higher notes, so this max parameter, I'm just going to leave it out of there. So this works quite well. I'll bypass it and then again bring it in. I'll just chug the low strings, but then as I go up higher, you'll see the filter is actually going to do less. That Horizon drive just sounds brutal in front of that, doesn't it? The other boost that I like is actually in the preamp tab of the amp block. It's the grinder boost. So I'll just kick that one in so you can hear it. The last little trick, which I have touched on before, is using a multiband compressor after the amp and cab block, essentially like a dynamic EQ. So we essentially turn the low and the high parts of the multiband compressor off, and we're just going to use this mid band. So I've set the crossover to 90 Hertz and 350 Hertz. That is really going to target that zone that kind of gets blown out of proportion when you really chug on the low strings. Attack and release I've set to taste, as well as the ratio and threshold. So what I'm going to do is just let you hear this without the boost. And I'll go chug, chug, chug and kick it in. Then we'll hear it with the boost, because I think the boost up front, the multi-band compressor, kind of dynamic EQ trick after the amp and cab, as well as that gate in between the amp and the cab, is like the magic recipe for any high gain tone when you tune down. Overall, that's pretty ridiculous, and of course you can use these effects to taste. You don't have to do all of these tricks on there. I did notice it bringing the threshold up on their cut just a little less low end there as well. And again, if you find the overall tone a little bit too bright or not bright enough, just move the virtual mic in the Dynacab. That is the easiest way to get what you want. So FAS Modern at more or less the stock settings, either a filter or a drive or a preamp tab boost in there. If you want the multi-band compressor in there, that's pretty awesome as well. A few other quick options before we go. FAS Modern 2 sounds pretty awesome as well. It's got even more low end than the original version in there, so I'll let you hear that. Then we will hear the FAS Brutals, which to me has more of a like mid-range focus character in there. This one would be great. So you were in a 2-guitar band and one person was using FAS Modern and you used this one, or you were quad tracking, use Modern and use Brutals. So what I'm going to do is let you hear them without the multiband comp in there, but I will boost them. So let's check it out. depending on your playing style, FAS Modern, FAS Modern 2, or the FAS Brutals are going to be a really quick and easy way to get going with a pretty awesome, chunky, high gain sound. And the thing that I love about this is it's just so fun to play. Like, you dial these amp models up, you get the Dynacab or your favorite IR set up the way you want it, and then you can just sit there and make rude guitar faces while you chug away. If you've got any other questions or requests for future Tuesday Tone Tips, put them in the comment section below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Cheers.